have been around. Here's one. And this is the picture that Betsy Ross used to create the American flag from. As you can see, it's the upside down flag with the pharaoh sitting on it. But back then, when this image was drawn, first created, America didn't exist. So that symbol represented something else, but it was taken by the Patriots during the Revolutionary War to create the American flag. And what you have is the pharaoh sitting on his throne, two concubines behind him, and some little people standing on what appears to be a blue flower in front of him. Now, based on the heretic scale theory, it says that whoever has the most power was the largest in the image, and the least power, the people became smaller and smaller and smaller. Based on reality, adults are large. Adult males are larger than adult or teenage females. These pharaohs were well known for having teenage concubines. So could this be a grown man pharaoh with teenage concubines? Perhaps. Could those little people on the flower in front of him be even smaller children? Perhaps. And it's also been recently discovered that the transatlantic slave trade was not as big of an industry as we were made to believe, and most of the slaves that were captured here in the United States on this land were natives. But the slaves who were captured in foreign lands and shipped over to the United States lands, so shipped over to this land, to the New World, that's what they called it at the time, were children. And that makes a lot of sense because even in the Bible, they talk about children being sold into slavery. If you look up the mainstream history about the Crusades, shortly after the Crusade Wars were over, there was something launched called the Children's Crusade, where a bunch of kids decided to get on a ship and go sail to the Middle East to beg the Muslims to not be Muslims, and they just got captured and sold into slavery. So even in mainstream history, there's stories of children being sold into slavery, and this was a regular thing because children were more easily controllable. So is it too far-fetched to believe that these people were child slaves in front of the pharaoh? I would say so. And this is ancient art, is it not? And another thing is when you flip this image upside down, which I'm about to do for you right now, that's why I put that red line through it to show you the flagpole. Here you have the pharaoh's throne turned over, or for example, or in other words, the king's throne, the king has been overthrown. That's why the American flag literally represents freedom. And not only is the king overthrown, but his system of slavery is overthrown as well. That was the inspiration for the American flag. So America was founded in direct opposition of royal rule and slavery. This is why they fought against King George, because they didn't want to be ruled by royals. This is why George Washington declined the offer to be king of America when he was offered it after the war, because he knew he wouldn't live forever, and whoever claimed to be king, well, they would have more power than they needed, and they would be able to create another system of slavery that we had just fought the King of England to get out of. And by we, I mean black, white, native, everybody. The first man to be killed in the American Revolution was killed at the docks, I believe, up in Boston, right before, on the day of the Boston Massacre. And his name was Crispus Attucks, and he was said to be of black African descent and native. His father was an African, and was an African that was shipped over, and his mother was a Native American. And he was referred to as what they call mulatto.